5. 3, 2, 1. Bring the bell. After an endless afternoon of alphabetizing practice, the first day of fourth grade was finally over. Frankie and I looked at each other. We were free men. Frankie, Ashley, and I ran downstairs and practically flew out the front door of the school building. Papa Pete was waiting outside to walk us home. Papa Pete is my mother's father. He also happens to be one of the greatest human beings on the face of the earth. He was helping Mr. Baker, the crossing guard, take the little kids across the street. "There he is," said Frankie, waving to Papa Pete. "Get your cheeks ready." When Papa Pete sees you, he gives you a big pinch and says, "I love this cheek and everything that's attached to it." I know this sounds like it's annoying, but actually it makes you feel really good. Papa Pete gave us each a pinch and a hug. "I hardly recognized you kids," he said. "You look so much older now that you're in the fourth grade." We had hoped that this was the year we'd be allowed to walk home from school by ourselves. After all, Frankie, Ashley, and I live in the same apartment building, so we could all walk together. Safety in numbers, we all told our parents, but we were all turned down flat. New York City is not a place for kids to be wandering around alone, our parents said. Okay, we could live with that, because having Papa Pete walk you home is actually pretty fun. He walks 10 feet behind us to make it look like we're walking alone. Papa Pete is so big that there was no way we could lose him in a crowd, even if we tried. It's not that he's tall. He's just large the way a grizzly bear is large. My Grandma Jenny used to call him her big, cuddly grizzly bear. Maybe that was because he also has a ton of curly black hair on his arms and a huge mustache he calls his handlebars. After he eats something messy, he'll always say, "Tell me, Hank, do I have anything hanging off the old handlebars?" I always tell him if he does, because he doesn't want to be embarrassed. We headed up Amsterdam Avenue. We walked a couple of blocks and passed Harvey's, our favorite pizza shop. It's no wider than a hallway, but they have the greatest cherry cokes and pizza there. You can smell it blocks away. "I say we stop in for a slice," Frankie said. Papa Pete shook his head. "Hold on, partner. We've got bigger bread to butter." When Papa Pete says a thing like that, you don't argue. He's always got something great waiting for you. We passed the man on the corner selling sunglasses. "Hey, gentleman and a lady," he said to us. "I got a special pair just for your face." Ashley stopped to look at a pair of rhinestone-covered glasses, but Frankie and I pulled her away. "You can't let Ashley get started on rhinestones, or you'll be there all day. She's a complete rhinestone nut." Messengers on bikes whizzed by us. Moms coming back from the park pushed their babies in strollers. I love to see the babies' feet hanging out of the strollers. It always amazes me that inside their little bitty feet are big feet waiting to pop out and play baseball. A couple of blocks up, we passed my mom's deli, the one Papa Pete started. It's called the Crunchy Pickle. They serve sandwiches so high they have to be held together with a toothpick. I waved at Carlos, who works at the counter. I could see him shouting something, and even though I couldn't hear him, I knew he was saying, "Hey, little man." "Hey, big man," I called back. When we got to our apartment building, Frankie and Ashley started to go inside. Papa Pete steered them back onto the sidewalk. "You haven't forgotten, have you?" he said. "We have some business to conduct. I was thinking maybe you could come to my office." Papa Pete's office is McKelty's Rockin' Bowl. It's his hangout, his home away from home. Everyone there knows him. He's the best senior bowler on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. "I have to ask my parents," Ashley said. "I took the liberty of phoning the good doctors Wong," said Papa Pete, "and they said you don't have to be home until 6. Although Ashley's parents are both doctors, Papa Pete is the only one I know who calls them the good doctors Wong. They don't seem to mind, though. "I don't think my mom will let me go," Frankie said. "My dad teaches tonight, and she likes me home." Frankie's dad teaches African American Studies at Columbia University, which is 38 blocks uptown. Once his dad let me come to one of his lectures. He talked for almost 2 hours. I don't think I'll ever go to college if you have to sit still and listen to someone talk for 2 hours. And take notes at the same time. "Fortunately for you, your mother was standing on her head when I called," Papa Pete said to Frankie, "so I spoke with your father." When I explained that we were discussing important business, he said okay. That was all we needed to hear. We took off for McKelty's, which is only a couple of blocks from our apartment building. It's located on the second floor above the 99-cent store, where I do most of my gift shopping. I bought my mom some earrings there for Mother's Day. She doesn't wear them much, though, because they hurt her lobes. Lots of people who shop at the 99-cent store don't even realize that there's a bowling alley upstairs. You can hardly see it from the street, but it's got 15 lanes, video games, and a coffee shop, too. When we got to McKelty's, the lanes were full of Papa Pete's friends. They were all wearing their different colored team shirts. They waved to us as we took a seat in one of the red plastic booths in the coffee shop. "Fern," Papa Pete called out, "3 root beer floats for my grandkids here." The fact that Frankie is African American and Ashley's parents are from Taiwan doesn't stop Papa Pete from calling them his grandkids. That's another thing I love about him. And another is that he'll always buy you as many root beer floats as you want without ever mentioning that they will ruin your appetite for dinner. Fern, who has been working at McKelty's for like 150 years, brought us our root beer floats. As we were slurping down the last of our ice cream, Papa Pete started talking. "Okay, let's get down to business," he said, wiping some whipped cream from his mustache. "I believe you've got a little something to show me." I haven't mentioned this before, because sometimes I forget things, but Frankie is an outrageous magician. He doesn't just do the tricks you buy in the store either. He makes up his own. Anybody can make a nickel disappear and then pull it out of your ear, but Frankie can make a quarter disappear and then have 5 nickels drop out of his nose. Now that's what I call magic. Papa Pete was thinking about hiring him to be the entertainment at his bowling league's start of the season party. His team is called the Chopped Livers. Everything about Papa Pete has to do with the deli he used to own. Like his 2 parakeets are named Lox and Bagels. I'm surprised he didn't name my mother Pickled Herring. "Let's see what you can do," Papa Pete said to Frankie. "You mean you're making the kid audition?" Fern said. "Business is business," answered Papa Pete, winking at Ashley and pinching my cheek all at the same time. Frankie reached into his backpack, got out 3 red cups, and placed them in a row on the table. "What you see before you are 3 ordinary red cups," he began. He took out 2 small and 1 medium royal blue sponge balls that he smushed together in the palm of his hand. He asked Ashley to blow on his closed hand 3 times, then opened his palm, and the balls had transformed into 1 big blue sponge ball. He put that ball under the middle red cup. He moved all the cups around in a flurry, then put them in a stack. "Sengawi," chanted Frankie. It's a word he made up when he went to Zimbabwe with his parents a couple years ago. Frankie says it has magical powers. He lifted the stack of cups high in the air. There on the table were the 2 small and 1 medium sponge balls. "You're hired," Papa Pete said as he applauded. "Do you want the job?" "Could I have a word with my associates for a meeting?" I asked Papa Pete, in private. I pulled Frankie and Ashley off to the side. "I see a future here for all of us," I said. "Frankie, you're the head magician, but you're going to need an assistant, which is me. And we'll need a business manager. That's you, Ashley. You'll make us millionaires." "I want to be an assistant too," Ashley said. "Okay," I said, "we'll switch off. But you still have to be the money person, because I'm dangerous with numbers." Last week, I went to buy a slice of pizza, and they were out of dollar bills, so the guy gave me change all in coins. I just had to trust that he gave me the right change, because there was no way I could add it all up in my head. I would have needed a pad of paper, a pencil, and my sister Emily, who was like a human calculator to figure it out. "Okay," said Ashley. "Since I'm the business person, let me do the talking." "Go for it, Ashwina," said Frankie, slapping her a high five. We went back over to Papa Pete. "In the last 5 minutes, we've formed a partnership," said Ashley. "We've considered your offer, and my partners and I believe that for $75, we can put on a magic show never to be forgotten." "I believe," said Papa Pete, tugging on his mustache, for $30 you could put on a magic show that I'll even like better." "Take it," I whispered into Ashley's ear. "It's only going to go down from here." "Deal," Ashley said, and she stuck out her hand. Papa Pete shook it and said, "And of course, for this kind of money, I'd hope to see a small live furry thing coming out of a top hat. I always enjoy that." "No problem," Ashley said. Frankie and I shot each other panic looks. Why was she promising that? We didn't have a small live furry thing. We grabbed Ashley by the arm and pulled her over to the video game room. I knew I had to get her away from Papa Pete before she agreed to make the Empire State Building disappear. What were you thinking? I said to Ashley. I was thinking about a rabbit, she said. It's always nice to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Earth to Ashley, said Frankie. We don't have a rabbit. That's a good point, she said. Now what are we going to do? I asked. You promised Papa Pete we'd pull a live furry thing out of a top head. He's counting on it. Ashley just smiled. You'll think of something, Hank. You always do.